Make no mistake, the most anabolic food that's out there is protein, but that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about really interesting literature that can help us out a ton. And I'm going to give you a very pragmatic way to utilize the most anabolic food that's out there. Now, before you think anabolic means crazy hormone levels or anything like that, no. Although hormones and anabolism do tend to sort of intertwine, anabolism and anabolic signaling isn't really related to hormones directly. It's all just about growth and tissue growth and muscle protein synthesis, how you actually take the protein and synthesize it into tissue. And muscle protein synthesis isn't just synthesis in the muscle. There's mitochondrial synthesis, there's mixed synthesis, there's myofibrillar, there's sarcoplasmic, and it goes on and on and on. So let's talk about it. Now, I'm going to spoil it right now. It's omega-3s, but there's a huge thing we need to understand about this, because you can't just go pop fish oil pills and hope for the best. After today's video, a big thank you to our sponsor, Seed, and also a supplement that I actually use. Seed is a synbiotic. Okay, it is a daily prebiotic and probiotic in one. So they have a capsule inside of a capsule that has a prebiotic and a probiotic with sort of a multi-stage delivery. That link down below gets you 25% off of Seed. I don't know anywhere else that is offering up that kind of discount on Seed. And it's just because they've been on this channel for a number of years, and I am very loyal to them and use them personally. So if you're trying to remodel your gut microbiome, if you're trying to make some changes with your diet and you're worried about your gut health and you're trying to put your best foot forward, this is going to be the brand for you, because I think most of the time probiotics are total garbage because people just throw whatever they can, they white label stuff, whereas Seed is actually pioneering the space, and I have the utmost respect for that. So that link is down below. Use that code and save 25% off Daily Synbiotic. To understand how powerful omega-3s are for muscle protein synthesis, we need to look at a newer study that was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. This is so wild. They compared omega-3s to corn oil, just as sort of a base. It's kind of funny. When they compared omega-3s to corn oil to see what would trigger more muscle protein synthesis and more anabolism, guess what? Corn oil did diddly squat, like zero, zilch at baseline or any other state. So corn oil, definitely not anabolic, right? But it's interesting to see this in the context with omega-3. Because what they did with the participants in this study is, this is really kind of invasive, but also cool. So they used a hyperinsulinemia clamp and they used a hyperamino acid clamp. And what that means is they clamped so that their levels of insulin would rise and their levels of amino acids would rise so that they could test different scenarios. When they gave subject omega-3s, at baseline, there was no change. It didn't do anything. But when there were high amounts of insulin and high amounts of amino acids, similar to what would happen if you consumed a protein shake or some meat, because yes, insulin spikes with protein too, but so does amino acids. In that particular situation, then omega-3s increased protein synthesis and anabolism. It was practically selective, like it was meant to be. So omega-3s with protein increased protein synthesis and anabolic signaling. I understand that, like, I live in this world, so I can like see this data and get fascinated by it. So I don't know if it comes across how cool this is. But omega-3s increase the mTOR response acutely. So you have acute growth when you want it. And we have increased levels of P70S6K, which is a signaling protein, or essentially a protein that's associated with anabolism. When P70S6K is elevated, protein synthesis and muscle anabolism is elevated. To have this only happen in conjunction with protein or amino acids and insulin is fascinating. What that means is that if we use fish oil, we can potentially dose fish oil along with our protein shake, or along with our meal, or with our protein, or with our pea protein, or whatever you want to use, and we run a pretty high likelihood of increasing protein synthesis. Why is this possibly happening, and how do we go about it? How much do we take? The most likely explanation is that it's decreasing inflammation enough for signaling to occur properly. So just like an insulin signal, an anabolic signal doesn't want to travel through a bunch of fog and fuzziness. If it has lower inflammation and a clear direct shot for muscle anabolic signaling, it's going to be more effective. So by reducing inflammation, it's a logical explanation that it would work better as far as anabolism is concerned. Well, when you look at the literature of how much omega-3 you need to have an anti-inflammatory effect, it's not much. Most of the literature suggests 1 to 2 grams has a pretty potent anti-inflammatory effect. That's like 2 to 3 soft gels usually. What I would recommend is that you take it with your protein. I would also recommend you take maybe krill oil, but krill's not always sustainable. Calamari oil is much more sustainable. Calamari oil actually comes from calamari. Another thing that you could do is straight cod liver oil or cod liver oil capsules that actually have vitamin D, which has a lot of promising literature too surrounding muscle building. So maybe then you get omega-3s, not as much, but you get the cod liver oil that also has the vitamin D and also has the bioavailable vitamin A. Now, what about food? I mean, if you were in a pinch, one of the most anabolic foods you could actually eat is running into the store and grabbing some cheap sardines. I know, it's crazy. You get the vitamin D, you get the omega-3s, and you get the protein all in one package. Now, whether or not you like them is a different story, but anchovies, sardines, mackerel, they might literally be the most anabolic foods. But if you don't want to do that, yeah, just pop a soft gel with your post-workout shake or along with your higher protein meals, and you can get more out of less. So as always, keep it locked in here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.